Good morning, all. Thank you for coming to our conference. It is our pleasure and, of course, a great honor to have Lord Turner with us this morning. We had for the conference two topics. Let's try to stick to those two topics. I think that there is a third that is in everybody's mind. And if Lord Turners agree, in the end of the conference, we could also share something on Brexit. But let's focus on the reasons why we call you here today, is to hear the voice of the man who made the reform of pensions in UK. And then afterwards, the author of a book that is a mandatory book to read. So at this point, I should introduce the pensions theme. That's the first part of the conference. But anyway, I cannot refrain myself from commenting on the second part when Lord Turner, the man who was also responsible for the pension reforms in the UK, will address us, putting forward his explanations about the financial crisis that are in his book that was delivered to you. I will never forget the day back in August 2007 when a really strange and dramatic phenomenon took over the markets. Liquidity simply vanished. Nobody at the time could explain why, and the plain truth is that in the ensuing years, all the explanations were entirely wrong. And the fact is that the first time that a comprehensive explanation came to light was with Lord Turner's book. It is really amazing that it took everybody so long, so many years, and even for those in the financial arena, to see things clearly. As a matter of fact, there are still plenty of quite prestigious opinion makers that still do not understand what happened, and so the importance of this conference today. What we have in Lord Turner's book, Between the Deb and the Devil, is a powerful economics textbook applied to international financial crisis. The author, as you will see when your reading goes on, goes after every commonly accepted belief, just demolish them one after the other. In his search for the truth, Turner called for arguments for countless economists from all colors and religions, from Keynes to Friedman, from Piketty to Hayek. All contribute to explain what really did happen and what the cure is now necessary. The book is an absolutely essential must-read. But now, let's start with my short presentation on pensions. Let's come back a couple of years ago, before the reform of the Minister Vieira Silva in the beginning of the millennium. There was some contenders that were playing around the theme. There was the state believers who always maintained for decades that no problem, no pasa nada. And then there were the actuaries who began shouting loudly that the world was about to sink. And then it came the European Union that reminded that there was a liaison between pensions and fiscal profligacy. And that was Commissioner Almunia who reminded that very, very intensely to the member states. And even that the day-to-day politics remained unmoved about it was never a very serious topic for everyday talking until Brussels spoke louder, and then we had the Vieira da Silva reform, which was what was of course a very important reform that took, as a result, took the social security deficit that was taken for control. Of course, there is no magic. And with this reform, future pensions were condemned to go down and down. And at the same time, the huge state pension costs remained untouched. We then, in 2011, fell to the sovereign crisis, and a big thunderstorm fell strongly over everybody's head. What's happened in pensions is that the pensions were cut, and the cuts were carried out merciless and regardless of the social and even the economic impacts. Nobody at the time worried about the consequences. And then pensions felt betrayed and lost. The Troika went away, and we could then come back to the reform table, but we preferred instead to believe that cuts were a bygone issue, and after all, there were more pressing worries to cope with: banking, Europe's, migrants, politics. But I think this is the moment, even if those topics are high in the agenda, to look again to the fundamentals of pensions. And I'll do it very briefly, not to spend the time that is allocated to Lord Turner. So let me just remind some figures that came from the European Commission aging report, the last one that was published in 2015. So you see here population that is age over 65 and population that is age more than 80. And as you can see, there is a line for Portugal. We have now 15% of population that is age 65 and plus, and in a couple of years, not very distant away, we'll have something like more than a third of the population will be 65 and plus. And if you look at populations over 80, we now have roughly 10%, and that will increase to 16% in 2060. Talking about the funding of Social Security, is important to see how it gets from who pays to who gets the payment. And so if we look to the population that is age 65 and plus, regardless to the population that is aged between 15 and 64, so the population that can pay for the pensions, well, the situation in Europe, of course, is not brilliant, but you can check the line in Portugal, which is the most impressive of all. We have now 37% of the population that are relative, that are more than 65, that are relative to the population that can pay, to, in 2060, to over 70%. And on the right, we have a more precise number, because it's the relation between the population that is age 65 and plus to the population that is really employed. And so the population who paid. And we have now roughly 44% of the population that is 65 and plus, and it will go to 80% 1% in the projections of the Commission. I think the numbers speaks for themselves. We can have countless arguments, ideas, beliefs, but if we don't stick to the reality, our conclusions are eminently fraud. So a couple of slides still to see what is the structure of demography and the capacity to pay. And one last slide that tells us now how many people are paying for one pensioner. And we are now at 1.4. And in 2016, there will be more pensioners than people that are in a condition to pay for pensions. So, just finishing, we have in the world roughly three models of pensions. We have our model that we know very well. Let's call it the Napoleon Bismarck model. It's a model that was invented and where the state guarantee that it will take care of everybody. There is an Anglo-Saxon model, let's say the UK, the Netherlands, and the United States, where the pension is what you save is what you get, and then there is the rest of the world when pensions, what pensions, that there is no, it's not really an issue. A slide where the money that is held for pensions, and you can see very clearly that the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and also Sweden, they have money protected to pensions. The old countries in Europe, with some exceptions, but not on the same level as those, have eminently much less money, and in some countries we don't have really money to protect for pensions in the future. Europe tried for a while to cope with the problems. You see the slide. This is Europe in the Middle Ages. Let's hope that we are not going through in the near future again. But this is anyway the picture of pensions now in Europe. We have a lot of different systems that are incompatible with each other. Europe tried to make a directive, IORP 1, that was meant to address the European needs for pensions. I think it's a complete failure. Only 75 of more than 100 pension schemes are European. The rest remain parochial, and so. Okay, I think we really have a problem, and the problem is that we have a public sector liability that are staggering. That is in the number of 44 trillion. Adding to the 44 trillion of public debt that exists for the OECD countries, we have now 78 trillion of unfunded pensions liabilities. That's for the public sector, and if we look to the pension funds, the situation is not much rosier than that. For the corporations that are in the S&P 500, we have 400 billion of deficits, and for the UK, the FTSE 350 has 84 billion of deficit, and if we count, that is a figure that came out from a study from the Citibank, a total of 800 billion in deficit from pension funds in the UK. So, is there any light? And that's what we are hearing about from Lord Turner, who put in place the system that you're going to look at, the auto-enrollment, where in a few short span of time that the system exists, it proved that, well, it's not a voluntary system, it's a mandatory system, and you see the number of people that are saving for pensions is going up incredibly high, and the Lord Turner will speak more about it. So it's possible to make people make savings, and this is the Turner reform in the UK. So that was my short note to the topic, and I will pass to the man of the day, Lord Turner.
Thank you.